Hi, I'm Peter Kalmström of Kalmström.com Business Solutions. In this demonstration I'll show you how to use a CSS trick to change the default caption up here where it says SharePoint. And the best way to do that is by using a CSS file. First I'm going to go into the site contents and find the site assets, which is where you are recommended to put CSS files. And here I can upload an existing CSS file, but I'm actually going to open this with Windows Explorer now, and there I'm going to create a new text file, so I can just work with it right there. I'm going to call that Kalmström changes and CSS. Then I'm going to apply this CSS file to the actual site, and there are several ways of doing that. If you don't have access to the actual server, or if you're doing this on Office 365, then you need to enable two different features. First on the site settings, and then you find the site collection features, and then the SharePoint server publishing infrastructure. If you can't find this item, then that might depend on that you don't have the enterprise license of SharePoint 2013, and then you'll need to use the other way that I'm going to show you, the PowerShell way. Now once this feature is activated, I'm going to go back to the site settings and find the same feature here on the manage site features. I'm going to go to SharePoint server publishing and activate that. Now I activated it both on the site collection level and on the site level. Once that's done, I can go back to site settings a third time, and there I find the new section here called master page. There I can define my alternate CSS URL. Or I can actually browse for it here and find it under site assets, Kalmström changes, and insert that. So now let's modify this rule here, the CSS rules that we have in this text file. I don't have any good CSS editors here, so I'll have to do with Notepad, but that works too. And now the first thing that I need to find out is what are all these objects named. So I'm going to go back to my home site, and here we see the SharePoint text here that I want to change. In order to find out what that is called, I can go into the developer tools that are built into Internet Explorer and Firefox and Chrome too. And then I can just select that element right up there. And as you see, it's a div, and it has the class MS Core Branding Text. So now if I input a rule for that object or for that class, which is only used in that one place, I can put a dot, a period before the name of the class to indicate that I want to do something with that class, and then I can do stuff with it. Let's just change something simple like the color of it. Color, and make that red. Won't look too good, but I'm just going to verify that I can actually change this. So now I've applied the CSS file, and I'm going to refresh now. And you'll see that the SharePoint turns red there. So that's really powerful. Now, I don't actually want it red. I want it to be changed. So I can put another rule in here, which is for stuff that I want after. And I can just do :after, and then add content, and then the text that I want by Kalmström.com. And then I don't need this bit, so I can just remove that. Let's try that again. File, save, and then refresh. SharePoint by Kalmström.com. Now if you want to remove this SharePoint bit altogether, then I would recommend doing this instead. That you do the same thing. Manipulate not the after bit, but the actual branding, and you can put the color there to the exact color of the background. That will of course make it invisible. And now to find the color of the background here, I can just click the background, that object right there, and the background color is right there. And then I do the color on that, and now we'll see if I save this and refresh the page again, we should see only, yes, now it got removed all of it. That wasn't better. So let's change the color of this then, and do the color white on that piece. Save again, refresh. Now it says by Kalmström.com, and you see it doesn't really look right. The dash is no longer needed, of course. Let's see, just remove all of that there, and let's just put that before instead of after. Save and refresh. Kalmström.com. And that concludes this demo, really, if you have the enterprise version of SharePoint. If you don't have access to that, you might have access to the actual server and can run PowerShell on the server. And if you want to run PowerShell, I would recommend using the PowerShell ICE, the integrated scripting environment. And the first thing that you need to do when you're working with PowerShell on your SharePoint server is to actually add the snap-in, which is called Microsoft SharePoint.PowerShell. And if that's already loaded, I want to have an error action. There we go, error action, silently continue. Alright, then I can always keep that at the top of my script here. And then I want to get hold of the web object, of course this object here, get. And now if I actually run this code now, I can get some autocomplete on this. Now it's done, it's completed. So I can do get sp web, and then I find my object, and then I'll just add the URL to the site like that, and then I can put the result of that get into a variable, my web equals. Let's run that. That seems to be working fine. It's running, and as I didn't get an error message, everything is fine in PowerShell. So now I can start working with my web object, which is of course a reference to this site I have. And here you see I get in the IC, I actually get some IntelliSense there too. And the thing I want to change now is the alternate CSS URL, and then I can just copy the URL to the CSS file, which is of course here in site contents and site assets. There we go. Copy that, copy shortcut. The last step that we need to do is to update the whole thing. Update. And now, just to show you that this actually works, I'm going to go ahead and remove this alternate CSS URL. I'll just make it use the default one. Okay. So now it says SharePoint. We're back to square one. I'm running the script again. And again, I don't get an error message. And I'm going to go and refresh this page now. And now it says Kalmström.com. So of course, changing the SharePoint to Kalmström.com is not 100% useful, but I'm trying to show you some tools to use and how to use CSS to modify your SharePoint site. This was shown in SharePoint 2013, but the same principles do apply in SharePoint 2010 also. Thank you for watching this demo.